Good morning, everyone. Yesterday we were discussing about the search engines. Commercial search engines are based upon one of two forms of web search technologies: human-directed search and automated search. The human-directed search engine technologies utilize a database of keywords, concepts, and references. The keyword searches are used to rank pages. But this simplistic method often leads to voluminous, irrelevant, and spurious results. In its simplest form, a content based search engine will count the number of query words that occur in each of the pages that are maintained in its index. The search engine will then rank the pages accordingly. More sophisticated approaches take into account the location of the keywords. For example, keywords occurring in the title tags of the web pages are more important than those in the body. Other types of human directed search engines like Yahoo use topic hierarchies to help to narrow the search and make search results more relevant. These topic hierarchies are human created. Because of this, they are costly to produce and maintain in terms of time and are subsequently not updated as often as the fully automated system. Current search engines are based upon huge databases of web page references. There are two implementations of search engine, individual search engines and meta searches. Individual search engines like Google compile their own searchable database on the web with while meta searchers do not compile databases but instead search the databases of multiple sets of individual engines simultaneously. Uh, Ranking and relevance of searching. In ranking web pages, search engines follow a certain set of rules. Their goal, of course, is to return the most relevant page at the top of their list. To do this, they look for the location and frequency of keywords and phrases in the web page document, and sometimes in the hypertext markup language meta tags. They check out the title field and scan the headers and text near the top of the document. Some of them access popularity by the number of links that are pointing to a given site. The more links, the greater the popularity of the page. Because web page search engines are use keywords, they are subject to two well-known linguistic phenomena that strategy degrade a query's precision and recall. Polysemy. One word might have several meanings, and synonymy. Several words or phrases might designate the same concept. There are several characteristics required to improve a search engine's performance. It is important to consider useful searches as distinct from fruitless ones. To be useful, there are three necessary criteria: maximum relevant information, minimum irrelevant information, meaningful ranking with the most relevant results first. So, first of these criteria, getting all of the relevant information available is called recall. Without good recall, we have no guarantee that valid, interesting results will not be left out of our result set. We want the rate of false negatives, relevant results that we never see, to be as low as possible. The second criteria, minimizing irrelevant information so results stop and extraneous ones begin. This is why the third criteria, ranking, is so important. Ranking has to do with whether the result set is ordered in a way what matches our intuitive understanding of what is more and what is less relevant. Of course, the concept of relevance depends heavily on our own immediate needs, our interests, and the context of our search. In an ideal world, search engines would learn our individual preferences so that they could fine tune any search based on our past interests. Let's see Google search algorithm, how it works. The heart of Google search software is PageRank, a system for ranking web pages developed by the founder Larry Page and Sergey at Stanford University. PageRank relies on the vast link structure as an indicator of an individual page's value. Essentially, Google interprets a link from page A to page B as a vote by page A for page B. Important sites receive a higher page rank, votes cast by pages that are themselves important, weigh more heavily and help to make other pages important. Google combines PageRank with sophisticated text matching techniques to find pages that are both important and relevant to the search. Google goes far beyond the number of times a term appears on a page and examines all aspects of the page content to determine if it is good match for the query. Okay, its PageRank algorithm is as follows. PRA, okay, PRA of A, that is page rank of some page A will be equal to 1 minus D plus D into PRA of T1, where PRA of T1 is the page rank of any particular page T1 divided by C of T1. C of T1 is the number of outgoing links from page T1, and D is nothing but damping factor, which should range from 0 to 1. Like you can set it to 0.8, 0.9 like that. So this is the page ranking algorithm for Google. The page rank of a web page is therefore calculated as the sum of page ranks of all pages linking to it. Okay, means its incoming link divided by the number of links on each of those pages. That is those pages outgoing link. Traditional search engines are based almost purely on the occurrence of words in document. Search engines like Google, however, augment this with information about the hyperlink structure of the web. Nevertheless, there are shortcomings that are still significant, including there is a semantic gap between what a user wants and what they get. Users cannot provide feedback regarding the relevance of returned pages. Users cannot personalize the ranking mechanism that the search engine uses, and the search engines cannot learn from past user preferences. Like, uh, see, it is not learning, okay? It's not like artificially or machine learning based. Based on our previous search, it is not working. Google, with its 800 million hits per day, almost greater than 8 billion indexed web pages, is undeniably the most popular commercial search engines used today. But even with Google, there are problems. For example, how can you find out just the right bits of data that you need out of the ocean of irrelevant results provided? As web ontologies become widely available, it is reasonable to ask for better search capabilities that can truly respond to detailed context requests. This is the intent of semantic based search engines and search agents. Semantic search seeks to find documents that have similar concepts, not just similar words. There are two approaches to improving search results through semantic methods. latent semantic indexing, and semantic web documents. One short-term approach to garner semantic information from existing web pages is to use uh, LSI, that is latest semantic indexing, which is an information retrieval method that organizes existing HTML information into a semantic structure that takes advantage of some of the implicit higher order association of words with text objects. The resulting structure reflects the major associative pattern in the data. This permits retrieval based on the latent semantic content of the existing web documents rather than just on keyword matches. The LSI offers an application method that can be implemented immediately with existing web documents. The semantic web will provide more meaningful metadata about content through the use of resource development description framework and web ontology language. Documents that will help to form the web into a semantic network. In a semantic network, the meaning of content is better represented and logical connections are formed between related information. However, most semantic network-based search engines would suffer performance problems because of the scale of the very large semantic network. In order for the semantic search to be effective in finding responsive results, the network must contain a great deal of irrelevant information. At the same time, a large network creates difficulties in processing the many possible paths to the relevant solution. Once again, we are faced with the semantic web's basic trade-off between finding the maximum expressive power and the minimum computational complexity. Most of the early efforts on semantic-based search engines were highly network must contain a great deal of at the same time, a large network creates difficulties in processing the many possible paths to the relevant solution. The semantic webs are like a trade-off between the maximum expressive power and minimum computational complexity. Most of the early efforts on semantic-based search engines were highly dependent on natural language processing techniques to parse and understand the query sentence. One of the first and most popular of these search engines is Scicorp. CYC combines the world's largest knowledge base with the web. CYC, which takes its name from encyclopedia, is an immense multi-contextual knowledge base. With CYC Knowledge Server, it is possible for websites to add common sense, intelligence, and distinguish different meanings of ambiguous concepts. Web ontologies become more advanced using RDF and OWL. Tags will offer semantic opportunities for search. Searching techniques like semantic search deals with concepts and logical relationships. If we examine the practical problems of semantic search, we will find that the search tree faces an incompleteness of logic resulting in the incompleteness problem or the halting problem. Inference can be viewed as a sequence of logical deductions chained together at each point along the way. There might be different ways to reach a new deduction. So, in effect, there is a branching set of possibilities for how to reach a correct solution. This branching set can spread out in novel ways. For example, you might want to try to determine Like whom does Kevin know? Based on information about individual's family relationship, his business contacts, so that there is more than one part to someone conclusions. This results in a branching set of possibilities. Therefore, the inference in our system is a kind of search problem displayed as a search tree. It is possible to start at the top of the tree, the root or the branches. Taking the top of the tree, the query can be asked like whom does actor Kevin know? Each step down from parent to child nodes in this tree can be viewed as one potential logical deduction that moves towards trying to assess, assess the original query using this logical deductive step. The fan out of possibility can be viewed as branching tree, getting a bushier and deeper. Each of the successful steps we take ends up becoming a parent node from which we can seek additional child nodes. Eventually, a list of people whom this person may know will be accumulated. Imagine that each node in the tree represents a statement or fact to prove. Each link from a parent node to a child node represents one logical statement. Now, the problem is that we have a big tree of possibilities, and this could result in any search being limited to incomplete results. In a complex logical system, there is an arbitrarily large number of potential proofs. Some of the potentially factual nodes may be arbitrarily long, and it may be uncertain if a determination or whether or not it is factual can be made. In the 1930s, that any like he proved, Gödel proved, sufficiently complicated logical system is inherently incomplete. In other words, there are statements that cannot be logically proven. Like his argument is proving undecidability is also related to the halting problem. The halting problem is a decision problem that can be informally stated as follows. Given a description of an algorithm and a description of its initial arguments, determine whether the algorithm, when executed with these arguments, ever halts. The alternative is that it runs forever without halting. Alan Turing proved in 1936 that there is no general method of or algorithm that can solve the halting problem for all possible inputs. The importance of the halting problem lies in the fact that it was the first problem to be proved undecidable. Subsequently, many other such problems have been described. The typical method of proving a problem to be undecidable is to reduce it to the halting problem. The halting problem implies that certain algorithms will never end in a definite answer. When you consider the web, you're referring to millions of facts and tens of thousands of rules that can chain together in arbitrarily complicated and interesting ways. So the space of potential proofs is infinite and the trees become logically infinite. Due to this, you run into some inherent incompleteness issues. For example, in a complex network, you cannot simply look at every possible factual statement, determine its truthfulness, and collect a complete set of all such results. You run into incompleteness because the search tree is too large. So our approach must be to search any portion of the tree. There are well-known strategies for how one addresses such problems like this. One strategy is to search the tree in a depth-first fashion. A depth-first search would start at the top of the tree and go as deeply as possible down some path, expanding nodes as you go until you find a dead end. A dead end is either a goal, success means success, or a node where you are unable to produce new children. So the system cannot prove anything beyond that point. Okay, let us go through depth first search and traverse the tree. Start at the top node and go deeply as possible. Start at the highest node. Go as deeply as possible down one path. When you run into a dead end, back up to the last node that you turned away from. If there is a path there that you have not tried, go take that path. Follow this option until you reach a dead end or a goal. Goal is a true statement with no child nodes. If this path leads to another dead end, go back up a node and try the different branches. This path leads to a goal. In other words, this final node is a positive result to the query. So you have one answer, keep searching for the other answers by going up a couple more nodes and then down a path you have not tried. Continue until you reach more dead ends and have exhausted search possibilities. The advantage of depth first search is that it is very algorithmically efficient way to search trees in one format. It limits the amount of space that you have to keep for remembering the things you have not looked at yet. All you have to remember is the path back up. The disadvantage with the depth first search is that once you get started down some path, you have to trace it all the way to the end. Okay, another way is breadth first search. Uh, the breadth first search. We shall see this algorithm in the next class. Okay. This was about depth first search. If you perform in search engine, how it should be. Next, we shall see breadth first search, how it can be used implementing search engines. Okay, now I'll stop here. All of you mark your attendance. Quickly mark your attendance. Now I will stop here. In the next class, we shall see breadth first search application. Thank you.